on location in New York in the Hudson Valley, and we are at a Unity Home set as well as a Bensonwood set, and I am standing with Jay Lepley, who is the master of most of this, or the architect of what's happening behind us. So if you're joining us right now, please hit that like and share button. We are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. So at Dave Cooper Live, we are bringing you the people in the process of people that are building better and doing it a better way. And we're going to talk about that today with Unity Homes and Bensonwood. Jay?
Well, speaking of building better with better people, and that is really, the guys behind me are the ones that really do this on a daily basis. I'm out here visiting. I'm extremely impressed with them and what they do all the time and the schedules that they perform and meet, even with the dreary day we had yesterday and this morning. But Here we are. We're starting to get this home set, and it's been a great process, at least this early afternoon.
Yeah, very much so. So big shout out to our sponsor, SIGA North America. Thank you so much for having us here today. Really appreciate everything you do. And guess what? There's some SIGA product in this house, and we're actually going to take a close look at it because it's being used for what we're building in this wall assembly system that Jay's going to walk us through. So why don't we take a walk down here, Jay? David, we're going to switch it up a little bit. We're going to end up stopping at these panels and walking through that. So let's do that. Why don't you go to 2? So right now, you guys can see a full overview of the job site. We're going to walk down here from the left, and then David's going to bring you back in. But as you can see, they're currently setting a wall panel right now.
Yeah, so these, Brandon is our job captain, and he's actually screwing the inside corner of this wall in here.
Well, let's come up here.
And so this series of picks have happened throughout the afternoon. We really didn't get our first wall panel up until probably 10 o'clock this morning.
Right.
So it's good to see some progress now, and we're gonna give you a little closer look about the wall assembly. Try to hit you up on an end wall. Do we want to go over there and take a look at that? Or?
Let's definitely do the end wall over here in this corner. So Jay, what am I looking at? We got hydronic floor heat coming through.
This is going to be slab on grade, so we've got hydronic heat throughout the house, and we're seeing our wall assembly right here. And you know, a lot of times we're foam-free assembly, but right here, what we're doing is this is an actual I-joist. This is a 9.5-inch I-joist here, and so we're filling the web. So when we screw these two panels together, that there's a tight, good insulated joint. So we feel this is a nice 1-inch foam spot right here. But the assembly looks a little like this. We've got 5/8 zip on the outside. We have a 9.5-inch stud. And this core everywhere else is filled with dense packed cellulose. And then we have a 7/16" vapor control layer that's taped with SIGA. And then what we have is our open built chase. And this has been being built for quite a long time, Dave. You can kind of see our Hundigger actually notches this out for the Romex wires to just be run freely. You know, hopefully we can get a discount from our electrician for doing all that work.
Pre-drilling, yeah.
But also, this actually supports other things like this. This will actually support the ceiling. You see how this is hanging down here? So in other homes, it actually might support the second floor system.
So let's talk a little bit about the thickness of the wall and what we have actually going on. So you have your I-joist in there and you have your foam in here. Why don't we show everyone, what is the total thickness of this?
So this is about 13 inches, 13 1/16 to be exact. And so we've got about an R35 wall, and this can be over insulated as well in this cavity chase after we run our Romex and before the sheetrock.
So walk me through why so thick. Why the different layers? Why have a separate layer like this to hang your sheetrock and run your Romex through?
Well, Dave, we've always liked being and having a robust wall and setting ourselves apart a little bit from the rest of the crowd. So you don't see just 2x6 and sheathing here, but it also has to do with durability, wanting to be over 100-year house, and making sure that these components survive over the road, as well as when they're being handled on site here. You can see that we're doing this. It was pretty rainy yesterday. These walls survived really well. We got the windows and doors all installed in these. And you know, we've been through so many iterations, but this iteration has always stuck with us. We've got some other iterations that people like to branch out with some of our passive houses
Right.
and some more economy. But also right now, during our pandemic, engineered lumber is actually less than a 2x6 right now from where we're from.
Yeah.
So we're actually creating more value in this house with using these engineered studs and building a real good product and a stiff product.
Right, right, for sure, for sure. Okay, so here we have our insulation, we have our air barriers in place. We're using the zip sheathing on the outside. At Bensonwood, you guys are using a lot of automation in your factory. Even looking at the nail patterns and everything, how this is built, it is so precise. I mean, you are not seeing gaps anywhere as if you would see something that is actually built on site.
Right, and hopefully, Dave, we get to get you into the full factory tour, but if you were to see this,
Yeah.
you know, this wall gets framed, the big bulk of the wall, and following right behind it is another wall that we frame, which is that 2x3 layer.
Yep.
Sometimes it's a 2x4 layer, but while this is getting sheathed, this next wall is getting framed, and we actually pull that up and over once we've glued and taped that whole layer.
Right.
And that layer, you know, just to touch on, Dave, is really important for, like I said, about the structure up top, but also we've also included this 1/2-inch PT layer here that actually connects the 2x3 layer, and you can see the black spruce Nordic lamb that we have underneath here.
Right.
And so that connects that, so that allows us to not fasten like a lot of panelized components where they have a shoe that's bolted to the concrete and then it goes over it.
Right.
But we're allowed to actually bolt here, and you can see these guys have already pre-drilled out on the snap line here.
Yep.
And we'll be fastening this down with Titan anchors. And I think we touched on it earlier.
Yeah.
And maybe we want to look at that, but there's,
Yeah,
there's other structural components for the big heavy hold downs that are actually able to set the wall. And so we can just fasten these walls down in a few spots,
Right.
get the build up, and then come back later and really tune this up with all the amounts that we need in all the different walls.
And tie it in. Yeah, and we have one of those tie downs, and we'll go over there in a minute, and we'll show that as we walk over. But all right, so let's talk about a couple things here, right? So this, like you said, it's not sitting on the concrete. It's actually sitting on the Siga Fentrum, right? What is the purpose of the Siga Fentrum?
So it's kind of funny, the Siga Fentrum. If this was a shallow frost protected slab, we would see that the vapor barrier would be going under the slab, under the haunched footing, and then out here.
Right.
Since that doesn't happen and we have a stem wall here, we have a vapor barrier coming up here, and then it comes out over. And to snap a line under or over the vapor barrier is very hard for the vision. So we've cut the vapor barrier and then put this ventrum down,
Right.
to allow us to get a blue line to mark on, but it keeps that moisture from the ground and the footing from coming up into the wall panel,
Right.
or even the pressure treated.
Got it, got it. So we have a continuous barrier that is what's happening from underneath the slab all the way to the wall system.
Correct, correct. And you know that people don't think of that as much when they're building an airtight assembly, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of that doesn't come back. But when I come back and every single one of these homes, either myself or someone else comes back for that blower door test, you'll actually find these places with water or through these plumbing penetrations, and air comes through the ground.
Right.
And so if those aren't, you know, vapor sealed well, or there's tape around them, and once the walls are up, then you're going to see some of your airflow coming through there.
Right, for sure.
And it's
for
kind of
sure.
good that we actually see all this water in
Yeah,
this.
I mean,
It means
just
the vapor barrier is working.
it's working the way it should. All right, so I'm thinking right now, I mean, we're somewhat in a utility room or close to it, the way
Right.
I'm seeing all the hydronic floor heat and everything coming out. So under the slab, we have all of our plumbing system run. We have our air vents. We have our toilets. Everything, my guess is out here, it's running to a septic system.
That's correct. It's out back. That septic's out back,
Right.
and all that has to be pre-done. And you know, those are the joys of having a slab.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. David, step back that way. Let's walk to the table. Let's talk a little bit about what we're using on these power lags. And I think tomorrow we'll be able to show some people on exactly how this is all being pulled together. So why don't you walk us through what we got here?
Yeah, sure. I mean, this is a little disarray here, but you know, we're using these 13-inch power lags. These come from outside on the outside corners and the inside corners. We try to keep them really towards the out or the in for thermal conductivity. You can see these plates Also, this is how we pull things around with either come-alongs or truck straps, so we're able to bolt them to the wall. We try not, these walls are so robust, so if we've sheathed them just a little bit tweaked, we have to tweak them back a little bit.
Right.
So we don't try to beat them up with a hammer or anything like that. We just put a come-along on them, or what we call the German claw, which we don't have one out right now, but they're on one of the walls.
Yeah.
And just
on this back side, I saw one.
Just to, you know, just to make the top side of that wall good. And so the inside and the outside corners, these hefty screws, that's what we spec in almost all of our buildings. And
pull them together. And what everybody's seeing here, just so you know, this started roughly around 10 a.m. setting the walls, give or take, just because of all the rain. And we are literally 3/4 of the way through the first floor exterior wall system already.
Yeah, and you know, this is a notable home in the 5 different types of homes Unity represents, and it's kind of our modern contemporary home. It's huge vaulted ceilings. On this low side is usually ceilings for getting air handling and mechanical through above the kitchen.
Yeah. So, all right, with that said, you know, what David was doing, they have a wall panel set. Go ahead, take a second and flip to that so everybody can see that coming. Just to make sure you guys can see it. So right now, what you guys are looking at, we'll walk over here and get set up for the next shot. David, let's stand here so we can show that plate right there. Jay, walk us through what's going on right now.
Yeah, so Travis and Brandon are both setting this wall. You know, it doesn't really matter how big the wall. Bigger the better. The more square footage is going up, and it's more enticing and it's fun. But you know, this is a small wall. We don't have this door installed because we know this will be going into the garage while they're bringing in materials and things like that. But you can see the Siga tape, the vapor control layer, the hold downs, those black hold downs, which are custom for us, so we can drill at an angle and hit that foundation wall.
Well, we have some of those over here. Why don't we go to this and take a look at it? All right, cool. I love it. So David, let's go to camera 1 again. Right? So David, I want to show this plate on this wall right here. So if you can get in on that. Walk us through. This is the hold down plate that you were talking about, right, Jay? So you're basically going to run that lag bolt or lag screw down into the concrete and epoxy it in place. Is that how it holds down?
Yeah, and you know, it's not that fancy sitting alone, but again, we've formulated it so it fits inside this 2x3 layer. This layer is not just empty space traveling over the road for no reason. We've got this hold down layer that we've customized, and it's actually angled, and it's got a special hillside washer that sits in there. So it allows us to hit that stem wall really precise, and again, not having to open up the wall. Almost everything that you use from Simpson or another brand that's a little too thick, you have to pull off the wall sheathing to get to it, or have an open cavity wall to be able to get your hammer drill exactly vertical. And we've just found that is too much work to pre-drill and exactly locate those prior to, then pull all the insulation, put it back in. It's a headache.
This way you just run and gun with it.
We've actually developed this. This is our system, and we love it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a solid piece of, you know, 1/4 inch steel right there.
Yeah, right.
It's not small.
It might be a little bit overboard because it's not stamped and we don't have the engineers Simpson has. But
right.
Yeah.
I love it. All right, so one of the things that we want to really take a look at now is, you know, how you set your doors. This is something that you personally came up with because you got tired of installing doors in the field. And Jay said, you know what? I'm going to come up with my own system to do this. So why don't we walk over and look at these doors and talk about that for a moment?
Yeah, and really it has to do with a lot of people, right? Being able to, at Bensonwood, set us free on thinking outside the box a little bit and always coming up with new ideas. So what you see here is actually a cutout in the slab that's 4 inches down. And we've got
Can you see this, Evan?
A 2x4 system that's wrapped up vertically with layers of foam going through underneath this Vicor. And that is back screwed to both ends of this wall panel. And the reason we did this, of course, is just like Dave said. I mean, this is a heavy triple pane glass lift and slide. And, you know, I'm guessing it weighs in the 600-pound category. And that is just too much to bring on a truck to this site and go through the muck and try to install this door perfectly.
Yeah.
When we can have our nice sealants for our drip edge, or what am I trying to say there? The kick out for the water,
for the flange.
Pan.
Yep.
The pan for the door.
Sure.
And then the full air seal on the outside, and then we can just tweak them a little bit if they need to be tweaked for operation here. But we'll be putting a threshold over that later, making sure the whole perimeter is foamed, and it just makes it a lot easier here on site to be putting that already installed. And for our blower door test, which, you know, Dave, I haven't told you this, but it comes, you know, next week is when we're doing this. This isn't like we wait for months after sheetrock is going on and things like this. We do this right after our construction to make sure that the assembly itself is airtight.
So hold on a second. So you're doing a blower door next week, no sheetrock on, no siding, none of it. I mean, you're ready for it already.
It is part of our system. We love that. We're real proud of that. I mean, I don't know what this home is going to get, but just a few weeks ago, someone got 0.34 on one of the Unity homes. You know, we guarantee 1 or less, but that's well below passive house. And these aren't like massive homes. So when you're using those values in a passive house world, and it's a small home, it's hard to hit a 0.6. And these guys are blowing away, and they're blowing it away with a system that's been going on for a long time, with the gaskets you've seen, with the screws that you've seen, and it goes up quick, and it's efficient, and we love it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a reason Unity Homes loves using the Panelized system that you guys put out. I mean, if you can have a blower door test a week after your framing and your walls are in, that's fairly impressive, right?
Yeah.
So, all right, let's walk through a couple more things here. So everybody understands is when this door sat in here, this Vicor and this threshold was already in place. That block that you're seeing there was actually what was sitting to the left and right. So this laid flat on the truck, correct?
Right. And so this was all, exactly. That's like a header below the door, right? That's screwed in to ensure that window or door assembly can carry through shipping.
All right, so let's work our way up the door. So we have our heavy triple pane doors. This is not your typical header that you're going to see in a site-built home or even a modular constructed home.
You don't think that can hold?
Oh,
no, you're right, David. So, you know, just like normal framing, we've got some jack studs in here, and the one above this, the panel above this, will have a similar window size, and that will have the jacks and the larger header over it.
It will.
And so that's the nice thing about pre-building all this in the shop. We've got a high-performing header. We've got actually a header to the outside, a header to the inside, and full insulation in between, so that if anybody decides in the future that they want an awning screwed on or another roof, and the same in here on the inside. So we've got screws going above the whole header, so it'll take that on. So it's a pretty unique system in that way too. It's not just to one side or stacked.
So when the second portion of this comes on, like we have here, that's going to give it another layer of header or whatever for support.
Yeah, that's great.
100%.
Exactly.
100%. All right, walking around on this side here, we were looking at it. So we have the Sega resin tape here, which is sealing the air barrier where the seams are. What are all these other ones? You just accidentally put some holes in the wall?
Yeah, so, you know, it's kind of funny. We've got a few spots here. I don't know exactly what they are, but since they're close to the door, I believe this is an exterior sconce. So this is all pre-planned, and this is so the electrician, again, doesn't mess around with our insulation. So this is a piece of, it looks like 1.25 inches, gray conduit, PVC, that we actually put in and we tape up, and it's the same on the outside, so they can just run the Romex through, foam it up, tape it back up, and it's good to go.
So that's just not a hole. There's a piece of PVC Romex in there.
That's right.
They can just fish it straight through, and it's all sealed.
Right. That piece of PVC is all sealed so that nobody's messing with the insulation. We don't want that to happen.
Yep. And this is the same thing down here. I'm going to assume it's probably a GFI exterior.
Exactly. An outdoor receptacle. I'm sure that's what that is.
Right. All right, Jay. I mean, this is great. I mean, we got a lot more to do here. We're going to be back also tomorrow at 10 a.m. and then hopefully at 3 p.m. we're going to be back as well. So what can we expect tomorrow, Jay, as we laying this out? I know we had a late start today. What do you think's going to happen?
Yeah, we hope for a lot more today, but as I was mentioning earlier, we're gonna wrap up at least these lower exterior walls today, and our hopes are to get the superstructure up. These roof panels that we've got coming in don't hold themselves up. We need some superstructure, so
right.
There's a little bit of beam work that needs to happen between the wall panels. And then we have some ceilings and some interior walls that carry those ceilings. And we haven't been able to lay out a thing on the slab. It's finally drying out, so we'll be able to do that. But we hope to, it'd be great to start up the roof. I don't know if we'll be able to get to that, but that was our goal when we thought we were going to have a sunshiny day yesterday.
Sure. Walk us. What's the overall time frame for this house, start to finish, typically?
This Zoom is one of the fastest because it doesn't have a second floor system. But you know what? That's the same with the Barm and some of the other products that we sell. But this requires some interior walls and some ceilings to go up first. So there's this little buffer in between crane work that needs to happen. But we're still able to use the crane. So usually what happens in all these homes is we'd already have, if all the layout was able to happen yesterday, we would have had 2 interior wall bundles that would be put in here. It's not needed for all of the structure to put up, but there is some. So we'd have it in here ready, so once the roof went on, we could just put them up later, the interior wall.
Got it. So what you're saying is we're going to have some beams probably coming across where these, like on this side right here, I would imagine, right? Yeah, you're going to have a beam sitting up here. So what you're saying is there's going to be some interior walls in place to help carry that weight load across. Yeah,
exactly. Because this is clear spanning. These roof panels are somewhere in the range of 38 feet long. We had to get them in here on a truck, and they're huge.
Yeah.
Huge. So they span from eave wall all the way back to eave wall, and there needs to be some support in the middle of those.
Right. Well, we have some footage of the trucks coming in and how they're finagling everything into the position here. There's another 18-wheeler just pulled up, flatbed with a whole nother section of wall panels and I guess roof systems.
Yeah, and it's been challenging to say the least. We've got a good operator up there. He's been great. And everybody plays their part around here.
Right.
It doesn't matter if I was in that lull or Travis was in that lull or Brandon. He's up there. He's making that happen so we can make this happen right here. And that's the amazing thing about this. I'll be picking up a broom, sleeping this later, just like anybody else. And it's a big team, and it's fun to see it happen.
Well, it's funny you say a big team, but when I think about framing a house, having the windows in, having the sheetrock in, or the insulation in, I mean, there's literally 5 or 6 of you putting this together right now. It's not like 100 folks out here. You got 3/4 of the house done with a half dozen people.
Yeah, and believe me, we're beating each other up. We wish we were a lot further along, but you're right. At the end of the day, it's really satisfying to see this go up, and I think everybody, that's one of the great things about Bensonwood and Unity is we're really proud about what we do.
Yeah. And
that's what attracts the good people that work here and keeping on the performance side and wanting to build some better homes.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I think that's what it's really about. This system's coming together so quickly, and it's built so tight that you're doing your air test, blower door test next week, which I'm still thrown by that. I may have to come up just to see that. All right, so tomorrow then, we're gonna try and get some interior walls, some more exterior panels up, try and get the beams up on the house, which I think's great. It's getting real loud here, isn't it?
Yeah.
Super loud. They're actually drilling now for the thing. David, let's go to camera 2. Let's walk over here. So we're gonna walk over here away so everybody can hopefully hear us with all that noise. And we'll talk about what's going on. We can see you up on the hill there if you're watching Jay and us walk over. David, why don't you come right up over here and why don't we talk about what's going on behind us here?
Yeah, sure.
Come over. So, all right, let's go back to camera 1, David. All right, so here's some more of the staging, right?
Yeah.
We got away from all the noise. I mean, we got a box full of all the gaskets that you have here, but also behind me. That window's a little low. Is this the second story?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there isn't a second story, but it's a vaulted ceiling.
Vaulted ceiling, right?
And that's where we were explaining about the jack studs coming up and the header being up here. So that wall or those windows will land right on probably the windows below.
Yep.
And again, that's a craft actually in the shop, is to make sure those measurements of those windows are aligned from one edge to the other, same as the one that was done below it.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
And as panelization happens through the factory, not everybody's always thinking about the window above when it's real obvious on site that there's a window above there. I better line these up.
Right, right.
So this is some of the pride these guys take inside, and some of our team leaders here in the shop that stay on top of that type of detail.
That's kind of the digital twin, right?
Yeah.
Build it on the computer twice before you do it on the field, for sure.
Exactly.
For sure.
And this is a box with just all of our goodies. You know, we got the zip tape.
Yeah.
This garage is going to have the trusses, so the truss spacers.
Seal seal.
We have seal seal just in case. We didn't need it, but you know, the gasket, we use this by the hundreds and hundreds of feet every job, and
right.
And you wouldn't even want to know how much a year we do.
Right. And right now, Jay, we're standing in the garage to be.
Yeah, this is the garage.
Right. This is the garage to be.
You know, our focus is always on that main house, the main insulated portion of the house, getting that up as fast as possible and dried in, right? So we're going to try to be weather tight here within, let's say it's 2.5 days, 3 days. But that's real important to this type of construction, right? Is to really keep the moisture out, not letting all that moisture get to the wood that you've already framed and any of the insulation or anything else. But just in a normal house, it'd be all soaking wet with framing, and your subfloor would all be getting moist, thickening, then releasing the moisture, and it's just not good for the home.
No, well, water is definitely not good for the home. It's bad for the home. All right, so one more thing before we wrap up here. That is not zip sheathing, I see. Based on this being a garage wall, we got some fire separation that you guys did in the factory already, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
We do this quite often, and it's not always like this, but we kind of go with our same system, still use the air seal. This is a fire retardant sheathing, and we always use this at the garage, and that gets us away from having to sheet walk the one wall in the garage and then have to get up on the trusses. It's all right there. So basically the thought is the whole garage could burn down and it wouldn't affect the house at all. So that we'll have a little gable up there as well.
Right.
And that will also have the fire block on there.
Great, great. And we'll show more of that tomorrow, which is going to be great. Yeah. All right, Jay. Well, listen, I appreciate it. I know it's been a day. It's been a day for us. I know it's been a day for you.
Great to be on your show, and I'm glad you were able to come out.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. So, all right, there you have it, everybody. Hanging out with Jay Lepley from Bensonwood on a Unity Homes project. This is day one. We're 3/4 of the way through the first floor wall system, which is absolutely still amazing to me, even with all the rain and wind we've had. So we'll be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. We will show you the progress that's happening. We're going to get in a little bit more detail on specifics of this house, so you don't want to miss it. I'm Dave Cooper. Jay Lepley. Jay, we'll see you tomorrow.
All right, definitely.
Be here bright and early. All right, everybody, you have a wonderful evening. I'm Dave Cooper. We'll see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. Bye now.